Mo, what are the biggest keys for the Reds in the second half?
Well, we could talk about a lot of different things, from the continued success of the starting pitching to maybe this team adding a starter. What happens if the Reds lose a starter at some point this year? Do they have enough pitching depth? I know we've talked a lot about guys like Drew Stubbs, who has underperformed, and Scott Rowland, who has underperformed, and even the rookies. Can Todd Frazier and Zach Cozart keep it up? Do the Reds get more production from the catcher position? And do they get more production from left field? Does Joey Votto stay healthy? And does the bullpen continue to be the backbone of this team? And yes, as we get closer to the trading deadline, do the Reds make a move? Do they make more than one move? Do they add a bat, an arm, maybe even both? But there's two guys we're not talking about. Brandon Phillips and Jay Bruce are two of this team's most important players, two of this team's highest paid players, one who was an all-star and one who certainly had a compelling case. But think of everybody we've talked about. Who are two guys who undeniably are going to play a lot, perhaps every single game in the second half of the season? Bruce and Phillips. Now, by all accounts, those guys have had good first halves. Bruce's power numbers on pace to be better than last year, and Brandon Phillips' offensive productivity is commensurate to what he gave this team a season ago. But those two guys are not only going to play every day, they're going to occupy prominent positions in the batting order, either right behind or maybe, if they move Brandon Phillips, a little bit in front of Joey Votto. There's no more important player in this team than Joey Votto, and the two guys who are most linked to his success, Brandon and Jay. Those are two guys who are making a lot of money, and at some point, especially Jay, it's okay to expect them to be great. Across the first half of the season, they've often been good. They've often been very good, but rarely as you've watched them. For a protracted period of time, have you thought, these guys are money. These guys are great. Jay is still prone to droughts where he doesn't hit the ball out of the ballpark, and while batting average might be overrated, the dude is still just hitting .249. Brandon, as you've watched him in the first half offensively, he's on pace to drive in more runs, but you could still expect him to get on base a little bit more, and you could still expect or hope for a little bit more offensive consistency. It's not like he's just now starting to make a lot of money. He has for a while. But what's more likely? Good players to have great second halves, or below average players to have good to great second halves? I think it's imperative, and I think it's more likely for good players to have great second halves. And I think if Brandon and Jay can play at an astronomical level in the second half, it can offset what they're not getting from center field or what they're not getting from any other position. And let's face it, if Brandon, Jay, and Joey all get hot at the same time, it really isn't going to matter all that much what everybody else is doing, especially if the starting pitching is as good as it's been recently. So I say, as we kick around what needs to happen in the second half, and there's a lot of different things here, and it's not to say that if Brandon and Jay and Joey are money in the second half, that the Reds are guaranteed to play in October. But I would not bet against this team if Jay, Bruce, Brandon Phillips put up the kind of numbers that I think they're capable of and that I think this team should demand of them, and that frankly they're being paid to put up. If they do, this team's going to be playing in October, and I'll be at Great American Ballpark, hopefully for more than one game in the month of October. Tell me what you think. Are Brandon Phillips and Jay Bruce the two biggest keys to the second half? Who are they? Who is it? Who would you choose? You can tweet me at MoEgger1530. You can also send me an email, mo@espn1530.com, and we'll hopefully see you at the Reds tweet up on Sunday night.